Okay, so now we're going to focus on Rome and its movement from a city-state to an empire. Now, Rome's going to be a lot different than Greece was in many, many ways. And what we're going to look at first here is how did Rome grow, not only as just a city that was among 7 hills by the Etruscans and the Latins, but how does it grow into an actual empire and its big, big gains it's going to run into. The first thing I look at is its government, and we're going to focus on the Roman Republic here in this first video. So, started as a small city-state, very similar to the Greek city-states. You can see from the map here, if I go back one, Rome sits here on the Italian peninsula. Okay, you see the old Greek peninsula over here where Athens is, but Rome is going to be much bigger. You know, the access to the Mediterranean, its location in the middle of the Mediterranean, makes Rome very, very critical in what it'll be able to do and spread into France and Germany, Spain, Portugal, into England, North Africa, the eastern part of Europe. It's going to make Rome very, very powerful over time. But let's focus on the Roman Republic here today. Okay, so let's move to a big, huge imperial empire. Okay, here's things about Rome. First off, it was ruled by a king. Remember, a king is a monarchy. However, that monarch got too powerful and it was overthrown by the aristocracy. Remember, aristocracy means a small group of very wealthy landlords or landowners who were in control of the government. And that aristocracy is going to kind of dictate how the government moves forward. And what you'll see here with Rome is it's very, very, very similar to the United States government and how it operates, even in modern day the U.S. Modern day U.S. has been compared to Rome in a lot of ways. Second thing, the aristocracy is going to create what is called a republic. A republic is very similar to a democracy, except in a republic, that aristocracy becomes a representative class. Now we focus in Greece on a direct democracy by Pericles. This is going to be more of a representative democracy, a republic as we know it in the United States today. Okay, you have patricians who are in control. The patricians are the wealthy class of Rome, and then below them, you'll have a group of people called plebeians that are the not wealthy people. So the patricians will have the control. The plebeians will be the one who work. All right, from that patrician class in this Roman Republic, you'll get what are called 2 consuls. Consuls will be like a modern day U.S. president. They are the executive authority. Their goal was to serve for 1 year. They could serve multiple terms. Once they served enough terms, they could not be consul again, but it was an elected position. It was given that executive, that kind of enforcing branch, usually a general of some sort that's been trained to put there. All right, you have the Senate is created, and this is the legislative branch. Now, if you notice, you're starting to see what is very much like our government. You have an executive branch, 2 consuls like the president. You have a senatorial class, which comes from the aristocracy, the wealthy. That is a legislative branch, a lawmaking branch of government, and they're advising the consuls. Very much what you see with our U.S. Congress and our president today. So you can see where these ideas of government start to carry over into modern day ideas. You also have a written code of law. You have a judicial system, so 3 branches of government. Down the road, we're going to talk about the Baron de Montesquieu and his idea of separation of power. Well, here's the early ideas of separation of power being done in the BCE time periods in the ancient world. Okay, with these judicial powers, you have another written code of law, and this becomes very critical as we move forward from Hammurabi into Greece, into the Persians, and here we are into the Romans. And this code of law we call the 12 Tables. In this, you have what are called tribunes. Tribunes are like lawyers who are going to represent the plebeian class. Plebeian class is the working class. They're the lower class who do not have much say in what's going on, but the tribunes do. The tribunes will help the plebeians, and you see more of a citizenship role, both men and women, even though men are the ones who can still act in government. This citizenship role between men and women is much more active in Rome than it was in ancient Greece, and that really pushes Rome to a consistent, unified empire that the Greeks could ever have. Okay, so let's look at the values of the Roman Republic. And here is a painting of the Roman Senate and how it would be. And very much like our current day Senate, our Congress, someone is speaking amongst a group. There's debate. There's a vote on laws, an opportunity for the word of the people, whether it be patrician or plebeian, to be expressed on the floor of the Senate. So the first big idea of the Roman Republic is it does center around law. The 12 Tables became the center of Roman law. Very often you saw the 12 tables sitting either in the Roman Forum, which was kind of like the commons area for Rome, or in a plaza or a piazza of cities, so that people knew what was going on. So rule of law was very, very critical. It kept the Romans unified under one lawful idea. Second thing is the rights of the citizens. Again, we talk about citizenship in Athens, but it was limited to wealthy males. Here in Rome, citizenship got expanded very, very greatly to all people. Even conquered peoples by Rome became citizens, and that's going to be a huge difference between the Romans and the Greeks. The Greeks were very much separated themselves from others. The Romans incorporated people, which is why you'll have African Romans and Asian Romans and Northern European Romans. It's a whole different society. You have the absence of pretension. That kind of goes along with the rights of citizens. Even if there are plebeian and patrician class, they're all Romans, and that becomes huge. Even if they're from North Africa, they're Roman. If they're from Rome, they're Roman. If they're from Gaul, which would become France, they're still Roman. And they all live under this Roman law, this republican law, which is much, much different than the Greeks, like we mentioned before. Very similar to what we're seeing in our modern-day America. The fourth thing is this idea of moral behavior. Not to say the Romans were the most moral people, because they did a lot of shady things. But when it comes to morality and law, you had to have representation. You had to make sure that the process was done properly. You had to make sure that the law was being followed, that the Romans were acting in Roman belief structure, whatever that may be. And the Romans were violent people. We know this with the gladiatorial battles. The idea that the executed Romans, by removing their heads, what they will do to Christians down the road with the crucifixions like they did with Christ. The moral, what the Romans believed was much different, but they did have this upright moral behavior when it came to the law itself, especially in the early Roman Republic. Keeping one's word, the idea that you are Roman and you work with others, you work with other Romans, you stick to who you are. When we look at the 12 tables and what they did, you'll notice that the Romans are very, very true to their rule of law, and that kind of goes along with the Roman Republic and why it was able to expand and push Rome forward. And then lastly, the way of the ancestors. These are the ways, when the Roman Republic was established by the aristocracy, you had these two classes of people, and these ideas of the consul and this idea of the Senate, this idea of a 12 table. These are carryovers from the Etruscans and the Latins and those who had been in the area previous to the unification of Rome, and very much after what they did to the monarch to remove that powerful kind of tyrant that was not for the people out of Rome and putting in this new, much more representative class of government. In the next video, we're going to focus more on the expansion of Rome into an empire and looking at Rome and its role past Julius Caesar and Caesar Augustus.